What would you do if your WA fined you $30,000 for a cabin they didn't even control? Well, I didn't just pay off, I took them to court. And trust me, what happened next turned the whole neighborhood upside down. You're watching USA Drama 2.0. Hit that subscribe button and stay with me till the end, because this story is about justice, pride, and standing up for what's right. It all started on a bright spring morning, the kind of day when the sun feels like it's smiling down on you. I had just finished building my dream cabin, a cozy wooden retreat by the edge of Lake Pinebrook, outside the limits of the Pine Meadows WA. The cabin wasn't just a getaway, it was the result of years of saving, working double shifts, and dreaming of peace away from city noise. The air smelled like pine and new beginnings. But I had no idea that peace was about to shatter. 3 weeks after I moved in, a letter arrived. It was neatly folded in an envelope marked, Pine Meadows WA. I frowned. I wasn't part of Pine Meadows. My cabin wasn't even in their neighborhood. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a notice demanding $30,000 in unauthorized property penalties. My jaw dropped. I called the number listed. A stern woman answered. "This is the WA office," she said. "There must be a mistake," I explained. "My cabin isn't under your jurisdiction. It's outside the WA boundary." She replied coolly, "According to our updated map, your property now falls under Pine Meadows territory. You owe us $30,000 for non-compliance." I laughed. "Updated map? You can't just move a boundary line." But she didn't laugh. She simply said, "Failure to pay will result in legal action," and hung up. That's when I realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a challenge. A few days later, as I was walking my 2 dogs, Cooper and Max, a woman in a white suit and heels appeared on my driveway. She was confident, sharp, and surrounded by an aura of authority. She introduced herself as Valerie Sutton, the WA president. "Mr. Green," she said, "you've been notified about the violation. Your cabin does not meet our design standards. It must be repainted in HOA-approved colors and landscaped properly." "The fine stands," I replied calmly. "Valerie, with all due respect, this cabin is outside your development. You can't enforce anything here." Her smile turned icy. "The WA board has voted. This property now falls within our oversight." "That's not how property law works," I said. She leaned forward slightly. "You'll find out soon enough." At that moment, one of my dogs barked loudly. Valerie flinched, clearly not used to being challenged, not by a person, and certainly not by someone who knew his rights. A week later, things escalated. I was sipping coffee on my porch when a police cruiser rolled up. An officer stepped out, friendly but uncertain. "Morning, sir," he said. "We received a complaint from the Pine Meadows WA. They're saying you're refusing to comply with their regulations." I handed him my property papers. "Officer, my land is outside their boundary. Here, see this line? The WA ends a half-mile that way." He studied the map, then nodded. "Yeah, this looks clear. Seems like they overstepped." Valerie arrived moments later, heels clicking across the dirt. "Officer, this man is violating community policy," she insisted. The officer sighed. "Ma'am, he's not under your jurisdiction. You can't fine him." Her face stiffened. "We'll see about that." That was the last straw. I decided I wasn't going to let this slide. That night, I stayed up late digging through county records. I found something shocking. The WA had recently submitted a map expansion request to the county office, trying to annex nearby properties, including mine, without owner consent. But the kicker, the request had been denied. They were acting on a fake jurisdiction map, one they had drawn themselves to pressure homeowners into compliance and fees. I realized then, this wasn't about community improvement. It was about money. They'd been using intimidation to squeeze extra cash out of new landowners. I wasn't the first. I was just the first to say no. Over the next week, I documented everything. The letter demanding $30,000. The voicemail threats, the fake boundary map, and even a video of Valerie confronting me with the police present. I spoke to neighbors outside the WA who had received similar letters. One older couple, the Harrisons, said they paid $5,000 just to avoid trouble. Another young family was considering moving out because they were tired of harassment. That's when I decided enough was enough. I filed a lawsuit. Walking into the courthouse, I wasn't sure what to expect. The WA had a team of lawyers, neatly dressed and confident. I had my evidence, my documents, and my truth. Valerie sat across from me, perfectly calm. She smiled politely, as if this was just another meeting. The judge entered, and proceedings began. The HOA's lawyer argued that my cabin fell under new zoning based on recent updates to the community map. When my turn came, I handed the judge the official county record showing the map expansion had been denied. The courtroom went silent. The judge raised an eyebrow. So, the HOA created its own boundary without approval. Their lawyer stammered. Valerie's smile vanished. I continued, they fined me for a property they don't own, don't manage, and legally can't control. And they threatened others the same way. The judge leaned back. I think we've heard enough. 2 weeks later, the court ruled in my favor. The HOA was ordered to drop all fines against me, refund anyone else fined under false jurisdiction, and pay legal damages for harassment. But it didn't end there. The county launched an investigation into the HOA's board activities. Valerie and her team were soon called in for questioning. Their power trip had turned into a public scandal. The local paper picked up the story. Homeowner wins against HOA overreach. Suddenly, neighbors who once stayed silent began speaking out. I started receiving messages. Thank you for standing up for us. I wish I'd done what you did. You made them finally back off. Even the police officer who had come to my cabin earlier stopped by one day. Heard about the case, he said. Good job, man. You did what most people are too afraid to do. I smiled, just doing what's right. Months later, Pine Meadows HOA had to rebuild its reputation from scratch. Valerie quietly resigned, citing personal reasons. The board replaced several members, and the new leadership promised transparency and fairness. As for me, life returned to peace. The lake sparkled again in the morning sun, the dogs ran freely, and I could finally sip coffee without waiting for another envelope or confrontation. But something inside me had changed. I learned that standing your ground, calmly, with truth and evidence, could shake even the strongest walls of authority. One evening, as I watched the sunset reflect off my yellow cabin walls, I thought about how far I'd come. From a simple letter demanding $30,000 to a courtroom victory that restored justice.